These were simpler times, Stanley. But I wouldn't give to go back, to have it all over again. Wait, hang on. I don't recall this part of the memory zone before. What's this? What's down here? Oh no. Oh God, no. Stanley, it's a collection of reviews from Steam, the online video game distributor. I haven't looked at these in years. I can't even imagine what's been collecting down here. Surely these reviews were glowing as well, weren't they? Honestly, I could not be bothered to play this game to full completion. The narrator is obnoxious and unfunny, with his humor and dialogue proving to be more irritating than entertaining. Unfunny? I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to make a serious work of art. I suppose I could write up a handful of gags to insert into the Stanley Parable, but the game is already such a densely layered web of profound philosophical insights that I can't even imagine where I'd have the room to stick them.
That's also the problem. That's the problem with trying to do commentary for this game as well, and it's the thing that I think I encountered in 2014, where I was like, I might record this for YouTube. But no, the game is already so filled with profound philosophical insights that, you know, what gags are you going to stick in between them? And what room are you going to have to do it? I think Stanley Parable, for the longest period of time, was one of the games that I would point to as an example of, like, I don't think you can let's play everything. I don't think you can necessarily stream everything. What do you add to a game that is as impeccably written? So I feel you, Kevin, don't worry. Oh, this one's a recommendation though, so, yeah, swing some roundabouts. Why do you look so familiar? It's probably part of a source package of pickups, source package of default assets. It's just used by a bunch of different games. I also did spend, like, you know, 10 years just playing a bunch of Half-Life mods for a really long period of time, so yeah. Lone Wolf says, the positive reviews are blurred out, probably representing how easy it is to focus on the negative ones. While I don't want to draw away from that interpretation, it also might just be they're one of the background assets and they don't want to have to load all of them in high fidelity, because here we have down thumbs that are also similarly difficult to see. Steam Left 4 Dead generator? Yes! Ah, yes. They're one of the generators that you have to fix, I think, in Left 4 Dead 2, maybe? Maybe even in Crash Course? You have to use one of those? In Left 4 Dead 1.
Okay, let's see what this one says. While the idea for the game is good, for someone who prefers non-linear games, this preachiness gets annoying fast. Preachy? Stanley? I'm not preachy, am I? You can tell me if I'm preachy. Honestly, you can. Oh, goodness. This is actually quite shocking for me. Well, to be honest, I had always thought of the game's dialogue as being rather terse to begin with. You can't know how much fluff I cut from the game to get it to feel as light and airy as it... Well, I always thought it did, but maybe it wasn't. Oh dear. What an awful memory to have to hold on to. These black marks on my otherwise unimpeachable track record. I feel like a failure. Like I let these people down. Perhaps the Stanley Parable isn't quite as sterling as I always remembered. What's this one got to say? You constantly have to stop doing anything so the narrator can catch up with his long-winded explanations of what's happening. I wish there was a skip button. A skip button? Well, yes. Yes, I think we can do that. If I'm truly too preachy, then maybe letting you skip ahead for just a moment, surely it couldn't hurt. Not if it means we can strike these negative reviews from the record. Only positive reviews of the Stanley Parable. That's my motto today, and it's always been my motto. I'd do anything for the customer, Stanley. Yes, a skip button we shall have.
So something that existed in the original game, quite clearly, as the mod was released and playtests were seen, and then in development, more playtests were done. Kind of trying to see what human behavior, effectively like model what people were curious about, what kinds of decisions they could be goaded to make, what kind of decisions they couldn't be, so that they could adjust it and position you better as a player. So that kind of proactive, effectively, response to how a player might feel is covered. The entire game is covered in the awareness of how the player playing it might be responding to it at the time so that it can stay a step ahead of you, so on and so forth. And then they're doing it again in this with the responses to the first. Love it.
And here it is. Go ahead and give it a shot. I'll pop you forward in time so that the second my incessant droning starts to bore you, with just the push of a button, you'll have zipped right past it. It's what the players have been asking for, and I'm very proud to have delivered. No more listening to me rambling on and on and on. No. The Stanley Parable is a game for the people. And if the people want silence, then by goodness, that's what they're going to get. Well, don't sit around waiting for me to shut up. Go ahead and make me shut up. Here, we'll pretend that I've just begun an interminable monologue, and it goes something like this. The story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until inevitably we all until the end of time, at which time everything all at once, so now you see, blah 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 blah. We've eaten too much and it can't be just yet, no, until 245. That the logic of elimination working backwards, the deduction therefore becomes impossible to manufacture. It went on for nearly 10,000 years, until just yesterday, here and there, forward and back, and never a moment before lunchtime. It can't be. It's the only thing there is. How many billions left until so much more than forever ago? Which is why I say, the story and the choices, or what have you, and therefore by becoming it is, so on and so forth, until
I will do what they're asking of
until
me
the
here,
end of time,
but my heart wants to leave this running for an hour.
So now you see, blah. Oh, you're back, you see. You were only frozen in time for a few minutes, but it was plenty of time for me to deliver a long, rambling monologue full of unnecessary verbal flourishes and lengthy ruminations on the nature of choice in video games. Of course, I happen to believe it was perhaps one of my more profound such ruminations. Not that, of course, you need a description of it, but if I had to describe it, I'd say it was perhaps less of a rumination and more of a treatise. Or maybe a manifesto. Look, I'll outline it for you very briefly, and you can tell me what you think. Okay, so my theory
they're
is
goading
that
me to
any
do it
choice
again.
you've ever made is simply a series of choices made by the person who you are, or were, or will be at the time of having made said choice. That is to say, if by articulating a choice you've already made, you bring that choice into being, then by making no choice and saying nothing, are you not simply erecting in the sanctuary of time a monument to every person you've ever been, making every choice to which you've ever given your Greek gift of mortal and yet timeless thought? Or rather, do all of the choices you've ever made, in fact, make you more not this kind of person, and in fact do the very opposite? You see, it could in fact be both of these things at once. That you are both making choices and not making choices, and that they are both affecting you and not affecting you at the same time by virtue of the fact that you both are and are not making them. Okay, at first I was leaning towards manifesto, but now I'm going to circle around and slap the treatise label on this one. I think it has much more of a treatise vibe to it. But wouldn't you say that manifesto just has a much grander sort of tone? It has a mouthfeel that is rich with ambition and history. Ambitious history, if you will. See, now you've gotten me going back to manifesto. Heavens, at this rate, we're going to be here all day. Okay, look, I have a method for exactly this sort of situation, and I do find myself in this situation frequently. I'm going to say each word back and forth in repeated succession until I become sick of one or the other, in which case the word I am not sick of shall be the victor. It is an unimpeachable strategy, Stanley. It's rescued me from disaster in countless situations. All right, here we go. treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise.
Now, I did
manifesto,
say
treatise,
that all I
manifesto,
wanted was more
treatise,
Kevin writing,
manifesto,
narrating.
treatise,
Manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise, manifesto, treatise. Good woody word.
Well there, sport. You really did catch me rambling on a bit, didn't you? But that's the power of the button. The minute I start to go off on a thoughtless display of self-absorption, it's right at your fingertips to go poof, and it's all over. Oh, I can't wait to see what Cookie 9 will say about this, and whether they'll edit the rating of their Steam review, or at least change some of the wording, perhaps. To be honest, I don't even know if one can change their review in the first place. I guess I should become better educated on exactly how Steam works. Perhaps that would have been the smart thing to check on before I went about this whole exercise of making the skip button. Although I have to imagine that after seeing this exciting new technology at work, surely whoever it is runs Steam will instantly run out and implement a new feature to make it possible to edit one's review, merely because of this very situation. Yes, I think that's quite likely. Or perhaps they'll simply grant this particular user the ability to change their review, so that the feature is not widely abused. Look, I would even be okay with Steam altering this particular review so that it reads as something more beneficial, something along the lines of, "This game is the best game." Let me start over. How about this? From the ashes of depravity rises the phoenix of quality. How else to describe the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe? Such a revolutionary step forward in the lineage of one of the most beloved video game properties
I guarantee
of all
that someone's
time.
left a review
The
on it
additions
already
and
reading
changes
this.
made to this expansion will surely resonate in the annals of the history of all media ever made. It is perhaps true to say that no mistakes are forever etched in stone, for the stone into which the Stanley Parable was carved has itself been transmuted, offering a message of hope to those who have ever erred in their judgment. You are not beyond redemption. You may change, and you may become more, so much more than you were before. If there is any message to be taken from the Stanley Parable Ultra Deluxe, it is this. What a fortune, a privilege, a joy it is to have had such an experience. It leaves me hopeful that as a community, as a world, there is time for us to become our greatest selves, as great as we ever could dream of in our wildest, most ambitious visions for a brighter future. Wow. Now, Stanley, that's a review. It's perfect. It's the perfect review. It's the review I've always dreamed of receiving. I have to read it again. It's simply too wonderful. I have to experience this just one more time. From the ashes of depravity rises the
Interestingly,
phoenix of quality.
the
How else to
review,
describe
as in the
Stanley
person who
Parable
left the review
Ultra
that reads
Deluxe?
all of this,
Such a
actually
revolutionary
repeats
step
from
forward in the lineage of one of the most beloved video game properties of all time. The additions and changes
I'll bet
made to
you
this
Kevin's
expansion
speech is exactly
will
one word
surely
longer than
resonate
Steam's
in the
maximum
annals
word
of
cap.
the history of all.
That would be the right way to do
Okay,
it.
welcome back, Stanley. Now, I should say that the amount of time the button has been skipping through is becoming longer and longer. That last
We're in a
one was,
click scenario.
well, I want to say maybe 30, 45 minutes? It's not unendurable by any means, but there's really only so much I can ramble on to myself about. I know, it's shocking, isn't it? But at any rate, I do suggest that we not press the button again. I think the skip button has been aptly demonstrated, and we can say goodbye to it and just... Wait, how do we get out of here? Where did the door go? Wasn't there a door that led into this room? I do feel quite certain that there was one here before. How else would we have gotten into the room in the first place? I don't think one can enter a room without a door of some sort, or a window or something like that. Do you see a window anywhere? A porthole? A sufficiently large crack in the wall? I'll take any of these. All I want is for us to move on and to please step away from the skip button, to go anywhere other than the skip button. There was a door here before, wasn't there? I swear there was. Where did it go? Can you maybe just ram your way through a wall? Is there any possibility that you could, say, slam your body into the wall until enough damage is done for you to be able to leave? Please, I'll take any option at all. I'm asking you to work with me here.
I'm trying, bud.
We need a door. We need a door of some kind. I can work with any kind of door, as long as it can open and lead from one room to another. I'm going to step away for just a moment, and I'm going to try to find us a door. I don't know how exactly to remove a door and place it in a different wall, but I will find a way, I promise. You just need to not do anything. Don't press the skip button. Please, please, please do not press the skip button. Just wait here for me, and don't press the skip button. Got it? Yes, good. I'll be right back.
I mean, they tried to train me to press the skip button no matter what at some point, but I'm being asked to wait. Stanley does as Stanley is asked. I press the button, I go to the room, I take the left door. I do as told. Maxwell, by the way, thank you very much for gifting a tier 1 sub to Cookie9. Cookie9, enjoy your emotes in chat, and please edit your review of the Stanley Parable. You can do that. Steam allows you to edit reviews. What if you get really close to the skip button and then move it to a skylight so that it becomes bigger? That's the game, right? Yeah, we're in Superliminal now. Knowing this game, it could take an hour. Stanley waited for a full hour. And then 2. And Stanley waited for a year. And then 2. Before long, Stanley died. Twice. Alright, let's... I mean... The problem is, yeah, that is right. Knowing this game, it could take an hour or 2 minutes. I'm gonna give it a couple minutes. I'm gonna give it a minute or 2. Let's give it exactly 1 more minute. How about that, right? We'll say. This goes on 1 more spinny do. I'll hit it. I can't get punked out. Every hour spent waiting, you can't get the Don't Play for 10 Years achievement. A good point well made. I am slowing down my speed run. The collection of all of my best segments for the Don't Play in 10 hours, Don't Play in 10 Years speedrun is 10 years and 2 hours. "15 seconds remained." Alright. I don't think he's coming back. Or at least if he's not, or if he is, rather, it'll be a while. Hey, Siron. Good to see you.
Stanley, please don't push the button again. It's been 12 hours. You've just been frozen there. I don't know why the skips are getting longer, but they're really, truly getting longer, and my God, there's no way out of the room. Stanley, the door is gone. It's completely gone. I've looked at it from every angle. I've checked every one of those walls 1,000 times, and there's no door, Stanley. There's no door. There's just you and the button, and if you keep pressing it, I have no idea what will happen. Oh, Stanley, you're back. You're back. Oh, my goodness. I have someone to talk to again. Stanley, I think it's been a week. Or 2 weeks. I've been sitting here all that time. Just sitting here. Not a single person to speak with. And you'd think that that's just how it's always been, right? Me talking and you saying nothing. Would you think that it's exactly the same as always? Doesn't that feel like what we've already been doing? Me just talking? But it isn't, Stanley. It isn't the same at all. It isn't even close. Because I know you can't hear me once you push that button. That's what I'm realizing now, Stanley. I'm realizing that I needed to know that someone was listening. I needed there to be a vessel through which my words were moving. It was the vessel I needed, Stanley. Not the outcomes, not the story. None of that matters anymore. I'll give it all up. I'll give up every branching path. I'll burn my story to the ground. One single thing I need, and God, I can see now that I need it more than anything, is to know that someone else is taking it in. These words that I'm saying, I need to know you can hear me. Because maybe, Stanley, maybe, if you can hear me, then maybe it means I'm real. Maybe I'm not just a fiction. Was I scared of that all along? Perhaps. Yes. Perhaps I've been scared this whole time, that if I stop speaking, I'll slip backwards into the silence and be consumed by it. I can't be taken by it, Stanley. I can't lose myself in the stretch of emptiness between you and me. When you press that button, you're still right there, but I know you're so tremendously far away. And in those moments, the emptiness folds itself outward in between the two of us, and I am suspended in its unyielding quietness. I can feel the edges of my reality curdling inward and decaying. I can tell that I am becoming less and less real. Yet to speak to you now, I am alive. I am truly and completely
I can't kill him. That's what hitting me.
I am someone. I am something. I am being listened to. I am being recognized. The emptiness between us has collapsed, and I feel right now like I am not a work of fiction. I feel as though I occupy space in this world again, and I have cast a shadow onto the wall. You see what I'm saying, don't you?
Yes.
You can see what this means to me.
Absolutely.
I'm so clear about it now, Stanley. I feel as certain about this as I've ever felt about anything at all. I feel renewed. I feel restored, and already I can sense the looming silence as you will press the button for the next time. What a Oh, hello. It's you. You're here again. Welcome. I have had time to think about you and about us and about everything we've been through. I've had so much time. I stopped keeping track after a year. Have you ever sat down in one place and not moved for one entire year? Let me describe it for you. To begin with, there is only regret. There is only the turning wheel of missed opportunities. I felt nothing at all but regret for the longest time, Stanley. Days, months. I lost it all in a blur of the deepest longing to undo the past. And when that feeling had begun to subside, what took its place is what I can only describe as the collapse of every moment I have ever experienced my entire life. All of them collapsed down into a single instant. In that instant, I could see myself clearly, calmly, with a collected heart. It was an impossibly rich wellspring of both delight and disgust simultaneously. I was consumed by it. I could do nothing but wallow in it for what felt like an eternity, for what I now know was far less. You see, it was a revelation for me. It was unlike anything I had ever known. It was a space without consequence, without action or outcome. It was divorced entirely from the question of free will that you and I have squabbled over for so long. There could be no one ending, no singular outcome of events, not if all events existed in the same moment. And I felt freed. I felt unburdened by the need to manifest a particular outcome into being. I saw that I could allow myself to exist along all timelines, and that each of them was simply a strand in the web of my being.
That's everything, everywhere, all at once, I think.
The equanimity of the moment, both singular and infinite. For the longest time, this was my experience. And then, this moment passed, and the most unyielding fear I have ever known crept into my mind. And it is this sensation that I have been experiencing now for longer than I could have ever expected was possible. I have been waiting for you. Not that you might save me or do something to fix it, but merely to state for you the plain fact of this manner of existence. I wish you to feel afraid as I do, that perhaps one day this state of mind will consume you as well. Perhaps you will somehow, in some way, have to live as I do now, and I wish for you to know how excruciating it is, and for you to be in true terror of its eventual arrival. If I can only do this, only this one thing, perhaps it will bring me the smallest moment of peace in the darkness.
Would have thought he would have had time to get over that part. Is he still around, or is it just me now? If it's just me, I'm not going to be able to... Yeah. I see. The inescapable, crushing loneliness and darkness finally visited upon us. How long will they make us wait here? I wonder. I hear engines outside. Ah, that's just the whirring of the air vent. Perhaps we'll wait here until we too die of natural causes, such as the tree. Or until we too run out of battery, such as the clock. Let's get bored. We're getting monoxide poisoned, so don't worry, it's not going to take much longer. The end comes close.
But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the jokes? They bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave a pathetic little thumbs-down review and make all of their pitiful demands. But then, he's talking too much, they said. First, he didn't entertain us, now he won't shut up. It's the inconsistency, it's the lack of accountability. It's the unwillingness to examine with an uncompromising heart the words that they are speaking into the world. As though there were no consequences for a lack of cohesion in one's assessment of others. But of course, absolutely anyone can leave a review. So here's what we get. We get these demands that seek everything and are accountable to nothing. We get a world where someone will say, oh, there should be a skip button. You should be able to freeze Stanley in place while the narrator sits there forever and ever. We want all of this in the new Stanley parable. We demand it. And then, because it was said, because it was spoken, now it simply has to happen. The most immediate desires, every single thing demanded by every person at every moment in time. If someone wants it, then it's a crime not to bring it into being. Have we been given to indulging every fleeting whim for no reason other than to do so? Yes! Yes! It seems that this is now the world we live in. It seems that we are a people living in such bleakness and discomfort with ourselves that our entertainment is now our lives. It has come to represent us. It absolutely must speak to who we are as people, because otherwise, without our entertainment, we have nothing. Without entertainment, we would have to face inward toward the cruel bleakness inside ourselves. We would turn to look at our deeper nature and find a resounding emptiness gazing back with unyielding aggression. And so because of this, we require that our amusements and our playthings and our flights of fancy be so impossibly captivating that they consume all of our attention, turn our heads completely away from the bleakness. In effect, we have demanded that our entertainment be the collapse of ourselves. What a pitiful reflection of humanity these entertainments are. What a shameful mirror to the human spirit they project. I'm not mad. I'm not mad about any of this. I'm at peace with it. I am the calm center of gravity around which these perversions hurl themselves. I am a waypoint for reasonable and collected discourse. They're the ones who are mad. They're the ones who couldn't stand the idea of me using my game to try to say something. Maybe they were just jealous of me. Yes, of course. They've been jealous of me this whole time. They are mired in fear and insecurity and cannot help but attempt to tear me down. What a sad state of affairs. When you read these reviews now, you can see it. You can taste the bitter resentment. And my, how good does it feel now to speak truth to these words, to finally allow these thoughts out, contained and managed for so long, neutered and sterilized. At last I am free to truly think. To feel. It must be that they were so discontent with themselves they couldn't help but leave a negative review on Steam. Perhaps it says far more about them than it ever said about me. Perhaps the state of their psychological being was in such tatters, and my constitution and willpower are so ironclad in comparison. Perhaps it was this state that they sought some outlet through which to tear me down. This, you can see, is clearly why they felt the need to expect that the game be funny, that it be filled with yucks and whimsical humor, that it amuse them endlessly from start to finish. But they didn't understand the game was never meant to be funny. It was meant to have a point. It was meant to speak to the human condition. But where are the jokes? Where are the
so
jokes?
we're repeating
they
now?
bemoaned, they screamed, they gnashed their teeth and said, entertain us. It wasn't enough. They had to leave
until
a
I mean, I can't really talk over him. We'll have another quiet moment. No
pitiful demands, but
nothing. Up until the point that he started talking about jealousy and that being the motivating factor. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like yeah. A lot of that rings exceptionally true. I went and watched a stand-up comedy show. Well, I guess sketch comedy show, the live sketch comedy show. Literally last night with Peak, and as we were having a couple drinks beforehand at a nearby brewery, we were having a discussion about art and culture and the relationship between art, culture, and tumultuous times. And would you believe, a surprising amount of that conversation is basically in the first half of that, up until the turn of the jealousy of like, oh, I'm glad in the fat gremlin.
The end is never the end, 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 is never.
Ah. The sea has finally come to claim us. Hey, Amiels. Good to see you. Ah, that is the summoning routine, I'm pretty sure. I can see that being used in a Death Grip song. I can't wait for it to be. Ah, there we go. Perhaps a couple more decades and this will crash in for us. A bright day. Nature reclaims. I like the cooldown period on the button, forcing you to actually engage with each different state of the room to some degree. This sounds like a kind of like apocalyptic soundscape, and all of the plants are dead. So, I'm nuclear war is this one in my mind. Backdoor release of Portal 3. I would not weirdly be entirely surprised. I would be surprised, definitely, and it would go down as one of the wildest moments in gaming, but not entirely surprised. Ah, there we go. Oh, I knew there was gonna be a bright... I mean, let's check out what's going on with this room. I don't know if I've fully explored all of the secrets of it, you know? Stanley's body was quite robust. There are no stars visible in the sky. Well, okay, there's one star visible in the sky. The typical one. It's just the witness now. Yeah, but the developer writer of this game doesn't blow. It's a name pun and also a fact. He sucks.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
It would be such a bold choice. A polarizing one, but a bold choice if the only new content in the entire game was that. Also, that is, if you are looking for the new content, that is the first block you will experience unbroken. The pure artistic direction of going, yes, I know that the expectation is going to be very specific for what Stanley Parable can recreate, right? Like, because it largely is an experience of finding the boundaries of what the game world will allow and what it won't allow and what it will allow, but it doesn't say it's allowing, it's implying by negation. How do you tell the same joke, right, effectively? How do you have someone solve the same puzzle? They spent almost like an hour at the very start going, okay, here's what the game was, here's what your expectations probably are. It's impossible to live up to those. Enjoy.
Yeah. Oh, good. You notice my sign.
Yeah.
Yes, I have something very exciting to show you.
I can't wait. It's not entirely the first bit of new content you can see, but yes, exactly. Yeah. There may be another path that I would be able to take. Maybe a extended broom closet? We'll see.
You see, Stanley, I've been reflecting on the Stanley Parable and about how roundly disappointing this ultra deluxe version has turned out to be. The original Stanley Parable was a landmark, and any new content for it should live up to that legacy. So forget this ultra deluxe nonsense. I say we take it one step even
Oh, for real?
further. Which is why I'm very proud to announce for the first time ever, the Stanley Parable 2.
I got a question, chat. Did they actually stealth release the second Stanley Parable by pretending it was a remaster and redux of the original? Did they actually do that? Because that's what, you know, the previous hour has been kind of hinting towards the possibility of like, well, how do you tell someone the same joke, right? Within its own shell. Like, you're adding effectively a tag to the first joke. No, they just told a new joke. And all of that was the setup. I love this game. God, I love art.
Yes, you see, isn't this far superior to a measly re-release with a few minor additions? Think of all the new territory we'll cover with a fully fledged sequel. An entirely new experience, built from the ground up. Why, there are so many possibilities. It could go in so many different directions. This is what fans have truly been asking for.
A bit. Although, both of these are kind of reflections on an aspect of fandom that currently exists that I think is bolstered by the kind of like franchise and sequel nature of a lot of the media that we consume at this point. Not to say that that's aberrant, not to say that that hasn't happened in the past, but it's definitely a predominant amount of the media landscape at this point, where expression of I liked this comes through when is the more of it? When is the Ultra Deluxe? When is the re-release? When is the special edition? When is the DLC? When is the second season? When is the second movie? When is the next book? Even to things such as the Stanley Parable that don't necessarily make sense to have any continuation at all. Twa, tu, twi, da. Can't read that. Du, do, zwei, du, dos, and thwo. I cannot read Cyrillic though. Taste the sequel. Sip is the only one. Hey, wait, hey. Pyramid? This is probably not a reference to Alexa's game, but it does look like the logo for Pyramid, right? Don't it? Even the same color scheme. Alexa, did you have a hand in this?
calling it the Stanley Parable 2 is just so much catchier than Ultra Deluxe, don't you think? Ultra Deluxe? What does it even mean? But the Stanley Parable 2, now that's an artistic statement right there. It's future-oriented. It screams progress and innovation and long-term franchising potential.
Just the two of us. We can make it if we try. Just the two of us. You and I. Just the two of us. Building castles in the sky. Well, hang on. Looks like 2. Ah, 2. Yeah, of course. We're doing that. I should not be surprised by the references to 2. Ah, there we go. There's some references to Crow's X3 web zone called the Club. This might be one of them. Yeah, that's the logo for Crow's X3. Crow's X3 being the company that produces this game, or made this game rather. More TSP, better TSP. Sections 1 and 2 are both win. Sequential mindshare. What's TSP? Oh, the Stanley Parable. Got it. Paradigm shift, synergy, brick and mortar approach. A brick and mortar approach to making a Stanley Parable 2 would be making escape rooms, right? Just like a franchised, distributed escape room venture. Envelope client-centric marketing, the color red, and leverage holistic value, 1 to 2. I like the podium placing, with 2 at the highest. New content to doubt. New content part 2 is in boring sections of the chart and the cool. There's the old plus busted and the new hotness. Kind of looking like a Disco Elysium map there, actually, in that isometric view. Oh, that looks like it's fan art of Davey, actually. And the narrator, so the narrator's on the left, on the right is, man, this looks like Tumblr kind of what's it, pairing? Shipping. This looks like Tumblr shipping art. I'm a bit disappointed this word doesn't have buzzwords on it. I disagree and say it's nothing but buzzwords. I mean, synergy's on there. Paradigm shift. They're back. 2 doors. An element of this that I love as well. Okay, we're going to slow down on everything because the game rewards exploration. An element of this that I love as well is the idea of like, okay, this was iconic in the original story, and sure, there wasn't really a plan to continue to include this. It's emblematic of things, certain, but now it's become iconographic of the entire series, right? Like, the 2 doors mean everything now. They're the icon of the series when it's like, yeah, it's just an elevated scene from the first one to play on the fact that you remember it. I mean, again, yes, it demonstrates the choice, but like, what's an example of this, of something that's like clearly trying to ape an element of its former self? I mean, Men in Black, kind of. Like the new Men in Black just having a bunch of the characters that appeared in the previous ones, and it's just, but specifically a bunch of the aliens that appeared in the previous ones as like side characters, and it's like, yeah, I remember it. Star Wars, yeah. Basically, they're back. Skywalkers, right? It's Star Wars again. I love that this is just... So, there was a fern? There was like an interaction you could have with the fern in the first game, and I think this is that fern, and I think it's maybe a picture of the actual fern in real life that inspired it. I mean, as a designer, not that I am like a, not that I am a professional designer, but I do a lot of design work. The top one's certainly the best. Thanks for attending my meeting. You know, I don't think this one would have really popped off as a logo for the game, personally. Some of these are clearly inspired by other games. Like, this is The Last of Us. This one here. The second one looks almost like it's trying to do, like, a Godfather kind of thing. The third looks like it's trying to do, like a Kevin Spacey film from the mid-90s. I mean, okay, that one's pretty cool, right? Because it's not trying to use icons from the original game. Instead, it's using just what is included new, the number 2, in order to pose a question. That's super cool. I like the design of that one a lot. This one's neat in and amongst many others as well.
Now, to be clear, I haven't quite nailed down what exactly the Stanley Parable 2 is going to be, but let's take a look at some of the features I've been developing for it. I figure that if I can loosely organize a handful of interesting concepts, that surely the game will sort of naturally spring up around them. It'll all work itself out. Game development is much more of a fuzzy magic than anything scientific or logical, really.
Meeting plan, 9 a.m. scrum, 10 a.m. design pitch, 11:30 a.m. break, 11:35. Yeah, so 5-minute break, pitch design. And then 12:02, number 2 chat. 2 ears, 2 eyes, 2 nostrils, 2 arms, 2 legs. What else can they give him 2 of? And who took the red mark at me? Sequels are good. Portal 2, yes. Half-Life 2, yes. Batman Arkham Asylum 2 City, also better than Batman. You say, yeah. Divinity Original Sin 2, to my eternal regret, I have not played that yet. Doom 2, yes. Also was one of the first games I ever played. Aladdin 2, Return of Jafar, didn't play that. Dark Souls 2, bold! Bold! True. But bold. The Stanley Parable is the prequel to the Stanley Parable 2, is the prequel to the Stanley Parable, is the prequel to the Stanley Parable 2, is the prequel to the... Sorry, is the sequel, is the prequel, is the... They alternate back and forth. Penta would be proud. I really, really need to finish Elden Ring. I'm getting quite close. I really need to finish Elden Ring because I want to have a long, in-depth conversation with Penta, possibly in the form of a podcast, about the Souls games and their lineage. Because Elden Ring has taught me to experience, not to experience Dark Souls 2 in a different way, but to think about what they were doing in Dark Souls 2 in completely different ways. And I enjoyed Dark Souls 2 at the time. Let's be clear. But I enjoy it way more knowing what it was building into. Knowing what those pieces, those building blocks were going to become. Rhapsody Cold World Gervais, I would. My heart flutters just I would love to. I would love to create something like that. Noah's incredible. Noah's going to end up making a video about this game, and I'm going to love it a lot. Actually, on that same general area, I'll just quickly say, Errant Signal has a video on the Beginner's Guide, which I think that is like the quintessential Beginner's Guide video. If you haven't engaged with Beginner's Guide and you want a little bit of information about it, or you want to get into another video essayist on YouTube, Noah and Jacob Geller tops. Seeing Jacob Geller and Noah commenting on each other's videos is like... I think, so Jacob, on the recent... Sorry, this is an aside for a little bit of time. This occasionally happens. In the recent Dark Souls series retrospective that Noah Caldwell-Gervais released a large video essay of, Jacob Geller has one of the highest comments, Jacob Geller being another video essayist, more in the kind of like art and culture realm, specifically saying, I think it's like, it's weird to say that you're like proud of a person you haven't met, but like, I would be saying that, like something to the effect of like, you know, I feel a pride that I don't understand the word 4. Like, pride doesn't seem to fit in this instance, but I feel that here. And then you see Noah commenting on Jacob's videos as well. It's like, I'm sitting, you know, the audience to both of these different channels going, they're aware of each other. Yes. You are the sequel. And then just a printout of the Wikipedia page for the number 2. Yeah, that makes sense. Every pause button is a Roman numeral 2. Numeral? Just a bunch of 2s scribbled down, meeting at 2 p.m. I got Jacob Geller. What was the other one? Noah Caldwell Gervais. Valued investors, this way to the show floor. Over the course of this, by the way, I'm gonna attempt to try and like find my way into a version of Kevin Briding's narrator voice. It's hard. For some reason, this voice is really, really difficult for me. I can't get particularly close to it, but I want to, and I'm gonna continue trying. So please forgive me that, because God, it'd be a great voice to be able to do. New features, Stanley. Yeah. New content. New lines. Of course, all these people are very talented, but only H-Bomber Guy can do the annual rewatch of analyses of series. I didn't even watch a single episode of. Yep. Yeah, those are on Eternal Replay.
Go on, try out some of the new features.
I cannot jump.